Hey guys, how's it going? Today's video is going to be the story idea writing tag. This was originally created by Brooke Passmore and Bethany Atazadeh. I'm going to be linking the both and the original video down below. The reason why I'm doing this tag and sitting on the floor is because it is this little guy's birthday. It's actually his birthday on Saturday, so by the time you see this, it'll be yesterday. But on Saturday, Balto is turning 6 years old, and we're just having a fun play day. And I'm also going to be linking the video that Caine did the other day, because that's what gave me this idea. Story ideas, plot bunnies, a bunny rabbit. So yeah. Also, I'm mostly filming on the floor so you can see him running around behind me. Usually he's in his cage while I'm filming, but I figured this would be a special exception. Right, Mr. Balto? So without further ado, let's just get into the questions. Question number 1, current story. What is your current story idea that you're working on right now? So right now I am working on my third draft of Monsters and Imaginary Friends. It is the story of a young boy who gets attacked by a monster in the middle of the night, and now his imaginary friend and the monster under his bed have to team up, figure out who did it, and get justice and or revenge. This was one of my favorite story ideas because it came to me like, there's just so many elements that all came to me at once that I got really, really excited about it. But yes, that is my current story idea. Question number 2, spark of inspiration. Do your ideas begin with characters, plot, world building, or something else entirely? Honestly, for the most part, my story ideas start with a plot twist. Not necessarily like a wild plot twist every time, but I really like just like this scene where everything just flips on its head. I love plot twists, and even when they're minor ones, being surprised, and I don't know, I love them. So a lot of times I'll think of like a really pivotal scene and then kind of build everything around that. Usually like the plot kind of comes along with that because you have to have a plot to have a plot twist for the most part. But to answer the question, my story ideas usually start with a plot twist followed very shortly after with the plot. Question number 3, brainstorm. How do you puzzle piece your story elements together? Do you start with the ending and make your way to the beginning, or vice versa? So since my ideas usually start with a plot twist, I usually start somewhere in the middle and work outwards. Now, sometimes my plot twist is very close to the end because that's just like a logical place for a big plot twist to be. Like once you have the established story, it's easier to completely flip it. But sometimes I like having a really big plot twist near the beginning of you set up the story, you think that you know where the story's going, and then all of a sudden it's a completely different story, and then that's the story you follow. So it really depends on where my plot twist is, but for the most part, I start from there and work outwards. But when it comes to writing, I always start at the beginning and work forward because I have to write in chronological order. It's the only way that I can get through the story and get it to make sense in my brain. Sometimes I'll jot down like a couple quick drafts of a couple really key scenes, like the plot twist, or other scenes that need to happen. I'll do a more detailed outline really of those parts. Idea-wise, usually plot twist and work my way out. Writing-wise, beginning to end. Question number 4, keep or toss. How do you know when you want to keep or dump a story idea? This one I have trouble with because I always want to keep my story ideas. I get very attached to my stories, and I don't know, I don't believe that anything in writing should be permanently deleted. That's just what I think, because I think that everything has something salvageable in it. So I've had a couple ideas that were just way too flimsy, I'll say, or just couldn't possibly work, but I'm still going to keep those and brainstorm them a little bit so that I can kind of know what to pull, because something brought the idea into my head. There was something that I initially liked, and I want to keep that idea so I can isolate it, pull it out, and then put it in a project that either suits it better or just a better project. So as far as keeping or tossing, always keep. Now as far as keeping in the sense of I'm going to actually work on it, it really is just what I'm really passionate about at that time. So sometimes that's something that's different than what I'm currently writing, sometimes it's something that is newer or fresher because the shiny new ideas are always better. But yeah, for the most part, whatever I'm really excited about in that moment, but nothing is ever tossed. Question number 5, original idea. How much of your original idea for your story is actually used once everything is finished? Usually quite a lot of it, because I find that by starting with the plot twist, so many elements included it, and because so many things kind of have to line up to keep that, a lot of things tend to stay the same. Like, obviously, like, scenes change and characters get tweaked and world changes, some of the premise gets switched around, but for the most part, the initial idea stays very similar because the scene comes together usually very fleshed out in my head. It comes and I can see it and I can see that scene, and it'll tweak a little bit depending on obviously what happens, but that specific flash of scene usually stays relatively the same. Question number 6, hide or share. Do you share your book ideas with friends or keep them a secret? So as far as on AuthorTube, I usually kind of give a vague synopsis of what I'm writing. I try not to go into too many details until I get far enough in the story that I'm confident in it. But when I'm first writing out the story, I kind of keep it pretty vague. I do share almost all of my writing ideas though with my real life writing friend Tony. We are always doing all the NaNoWriMos and almost all the camp NaNoWriMos together, and we'll hang out and write together, and he's just my go-to writing buddy. So when I have an idea that I'm excited about, I like talking about it because it's thinking out loud, and it's also just sharing, and it's also just getting me hyped and stuff. And he is the perfect for that. He is such a good hype man. He's just really great at being really supportive and getting excited with me, and he's a really good writer. I really like his writing. He just has such an amazing brain for stories. So I just love sharing my ideas with him. He's so great for that. And yeah, we talk about my ideas. Sometimes I'll go into like spoiler details with him, but yeah, I share almost all of them, and I share almost all of them with him. Question number 7, dream. Have any of your book ideas originated with a dream or nightmare? Definitely. So I dream a lot, and I almost always remember my dreams. I can remember 3 or 4 dreams every night. I also have mostly nightmares. It's always been that way. Like I would say about 80% of my dreams tend to be nightmares, but that makes really good writing material. So sometimes I'll have a dream and it'll be really vivid, and it'll either be a story idea, or I'll be able to take certain things from them and make a story, or I'll be able to, like, it'll inspire something. Question number 8, Doppelganger. Have you ever had an idea for a story but didn't see a similar premise in a book / TV show / movie? I want to say kind of. So I've never had an idea and then found that full idea in something else, but where my ideas start with small premises, I've seen bits and pieces of them throughout other media. My current work in progress includes my favorite trope, and I've read that trope a handful of other times because I specifically search out that trope because it's my favorite. So things like that I do, but I've never read like this full idea altogether as a TV show, movie, book, etc. As far as other ideas go, I've written, some of my older stuff was very like cliche fantasy, so obviously I've seen very, very similar premise. Like one of my other stories that I finished, On Fear's Air, it's a very, I'm going to say typical fantasy story about a orphan who becomes the heir to a throne because circumstances, and then gets kicked out of the kingdom, and now has to make her way back to the kingdom to reclaim her throne. So like, that idea has been done a million times, and some of my other stories are very basic like premises, but I haven't seen them done exactly in that way. And I think that, side note here, every idea has been done. Maybe not exactly that same way, but everything has been done at some point. But every time someone does it, it's going to be different. Like, you can give 50 people the exact same writing prompt, tell them to write a story, and you're going to have 50 completely different books. So I think that this is something people stress about a lot. But yeah, overall, I have seen elements of things I was working on in other forms of media, but definitely never similar enough to be discouraging. Question number 9, big screen inspiration. Have any of your favorite movies or TV shows sparked ideas for scenes in your book? I want to say a little bit with my current work in progress, because it was the trope itself that inspired the plot twist that inspired the rest of the premise, but it wasn't really like I was watching something and then the idea came from there. Now, to be fair, I don't really watch a lot of TV or movies, actually almost don't watch any TV. I'm just not a TV person. That's a lot of commitment for me. I mean, I think that the more media we consume, whether it's books, TV shows, movies, the more like ideas are floating around in our head. Like the more things we're exposed to, the more we have to pull upon. So even though nothing has directly inspired me, obviously everything that I've seen and read and experienced has affected me in some way. So I'm gonna go with kind of but barely. And question number 10, nostalgia. What is the oldest or first story idea you remember coming up with or writing down? So for me, the very first story I ever wrote was a very weak Lord of the Rings retelling with my dad as the main character. I can't remember even how it started. I think he was just walking down the street one day and then fell into a hole and then ended up in the Lord of the Rings world and then got to experience the story, because Lord of the Rings was always my dad's favorite book, and we read it, like I read Lord of the Rings for the first time when I was 4 years old. Like it was always around when we were growing up, and I thought it'd be cool if my dad could be in the story, so I decided to write it, and I obviously never finished it because, I don't know if you know this, but Lord of the Rings is a big story, and a retelling of that, written by like a 5-year-old, is not gonna get finished. But yeah, that was the first story idea that I remember writing. And that is the final question. So thank you guys so much for watching and for celebrating Balto's birthday with me. He appreciates it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please click the like button to let me know. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of my videos and my reading and my writing and whatever else I end up filming. I post videos every Wednesday and Sunday, so stay tuned for that. I hope to see you guys next time, and until then, have a great day. Bye!